The arrow came first. It split the air 3 inches from Cole Hardin's ear and buried itself into the wooden post of the trading post door before he even had time to flinch. He spun, hand dropping to the iron on his hip, eyes cutting across the dust in the open flat of the Arizona Territory, like a man who had been shot at enough times to stop wasting shock on it. Nothing moved. The afternoon heat pressed down like a flat iron on wet cloth. The scrub brush sat still. The distant red rock formations bled orange in the sun. Then a shadow shifted behind the boulder 20 yards out. Cole did not draw. He watched. A figure stepped into the open. Young, a woman. Apache by the cut of her dress and the beadwork at her collar. She held a bow at her side, not raised, not threatening now, just held. Her chin was up. Her dark eyes did not move from his face. She was not afraid of him. That was the first thing he noticed. The second thing was that she was hurt. A dark stain spread along the left side of her ribs, soaking through the tan hide of her dress. She was holding herself in a way that people hold themselves when they are trying very hard to look like they are not in pain. Cole took his hand off his gun. She said something in Apache. He did not speak Apache. She seemed to understand this, because she tried again, slower and mixed in a few Spanish words he half recognized. What he gathered was this: she needed help. She had been shot, and she had fired the arrow at him not to kill him, but to make him stop and look at her, because she had been calling out and he had not heard her. That tracked. He had been singing to himself, badly. Since noon. Her name was Nara. He got that much from her before she went quiet and let him lead her inside. The trading post was empty. Old Pete, who ran it, had gone south to Tucson 3 days ago and left Cole to watch the place in exchange for 2 weeks of free supplies. It was the kind of deal that only made sense until something went wrong. Cole sat Nara down on the cot in the back room and got a look at the wound. A bullet had grazed her, deep enough to bleed hard, not deep enough to kill her quick. Whoever had done it had either been a bad shot or had not wanted her dead. He could not decide which was worse. He worked clean. Water, cloth, the little bottle of carbolic he kept in his kit. She did not make a sound through any of it. She watched him with those steady dark eyes and held herself still the way wild things hold still when they decide, against their nature, to trust something. When he wrapped the bandage tight, she let out one breath. Just one. Cole sat back on his heels and looked at her. She looked at him. Outside, the wind picked up and threw a curtain of dust against the window glass. He said, "Who shot you?" She did not answer right away. She looked at the window, then at the door, then back at him. Then she said in careful English that she had clearly been sitting on this whole time. 3 men. They follow me 2 days. He stared at her. "You speak English?" "Some." "You let me think you didn't." She met his eyes. "I needed to know what kind of man you are first." Cole had no answer for that. He stood up and went to the window and looked out at the empty flat. 3 men. 2 days. Which meant they were close. Which meant they might have seen her walk into this trading post. He checked the load in his rifle. Nara watched him do it. Then she said, quiet and steady, "They want something I carry." He looked at her. She reached into the fold of her dress and drew out a small leather pouch, the size of a fist, tied shut with a strip of rawhide. She held it out to him. He did not take it. "What is it?" he said. "Proof," she said, "of what was done to my people. Names. A paper with names. A man in Tucson will pay much to make sure it does not reach the army post at Fort Verde." Cole looked at the pouch, then at the door, then at the sky going amber through the glass. 3 men riding hard. A woman who had fired an arrow at a stranger to get his attention because she was out of other options. A leather pouch that could get them both killed before sundown. He took the pouch from her hand and tucked it inside his vest. "Rest," he said. "You've got maybe 2 hours before they find this place." Nara lay back on the cot. She did not close her eyes. Cole pulled a chair to the door and sat with his rifle across his knees and listened to the desert go quiet the way it does right before something happens in it. The sun dropped another inch toward the rock line. Somewhere out in the scrub, a horse blew air through its nose. Cole's jaw set. They were already here. The door did not open. The window did. The glass came in first, a sharp scatter of it across the plank floor. Malvoice and then a man's arm reached through and groped for the latch. Cole was out of the chair before the glass finished falling. He crossed the room in 4 steps and brought the butt of the rifle down on the arm. The crack was not the rifle. It was the arm. The man outside howled. Cole threw the latch himself, pulled the window open, and stuck the barrel of the rifle into the face of the man hanging off the sill, cradling his broken wrist against his chest. The man had pale eyes and a jaw that had been broken before and healed wrong. He wore a gray duster and a badge that looked like it had been cut from a tin can. Not a real badge. The kind men made for themselves when they wanted the authority without the inconvenience of actual law. "Where are the other 2?" Cole said. The man with the wrong jaw looked at him and smiled, which was not the response Cole had been expecting. Behind him, a floorboard creaked. Cole dropped and rolled left. The shot that came from the back doorway punched a hole in the window frame exactly where his head had been. He came up behind the supply shelves, toppling a row of canned goods that clattered and rolled in every direction, and fired once toward the muzzle flash. Silence. Then a body hit the floor. 1 down. Wrong jaw was already running, scrambling off the sill and into the dark with his broken wrist flopping. Cole let him go. 2 men down to 1 was better math. The third one was the one who concerned him. He had not shown himself yet, which meant he was either gone or smart. Smart men were the problem. Cole moved back toward the rear room. He pushed the door open low, rifle first. Nara was not on the cot. She was pressed flat against the wall beside the back door, a long skinning knife in her good hand, her other arm pressed to her wrapped ribs. The man on the floor near her feet was not moving. There was a cut on his forearm, and the expression on his face was the expression of a man who had very badly underestimated a situation. He was breathing. She had not killed him. Cole looked at her. She looked at the man on the floor, then at Cole. "He came through the back," she said. "I was not going to wait." "Are you bleeding again?" She checked her side. "A little." Cole crossed to the back door and looked out into the dark. The man with the wrong jaw and the tin badge was out there somewhere, riding hard or regrouping. The night had come down fast, the way Arizona nights did, like a curtain being dropped, and he pulled the door shut and barred it. Then he looked at Nara, who was standing upright with a skinning knife and a fresh blood stain on her bandage and no expression on her face that asked for anything from him. He said, "We need to move." She said, "I know." He said, "Can you ride?" She looked at him like that was possibly the least intelligent question she had ever been asked. "I will take that as yes," he said. They packed fast. He grabbed his bedroll, his ammunition, the carbolic, what food would travel. She found her bow where she had left it by the front door and slung it across her back. She moved like a woman who was used to moving in a hurry and did not need to be told twice. The horses were in the small pen behind the post, his roan and a second horse that old Pete kept for trade. Inara went to the trade horse without being directed and had it saddled before Cole finished with the roan. He handed her the leather pouch. She looked at him. "You carry it," he said. "You know where it needs to go better than I do." She tucked it back into the fold of her dress. They rode north, away from the direction the men had come from, into the broken country where the rock formations cut the land into a maze that only people who knew it well could move through without getting turned around and dead. Cole did not know it well. Nara did. She rode slightly ahead of him and did not look back, and he followed, and the desert closed around them both like a hand. By the time the moon was high, they were deep in the canyon country, moving along a dry riverbed with walls of red rock rising on both sides. The horses picked their way through the loose stone quietly. Nara had not spoken since they left the trading post. Cole had not pushed it. He was thinking about the man with the tin badge. Wrong Jaw had run, but men who ran came back with more men. That was the mathematics of the territory. You could win a fight tonight and still lose the week. Nara pulled her horse to a stop. Cole stopped beside her and listened. Nothing. Then, very faint, the sound of water. She turned her horse toward it and he followed. And they came around a bend in the canyon wall to a place where a spring came out of the rock and pooled in a hollow of stone before running away through a crack in the ground. Grass grew around it, short and tough. The horses went straight to it. Nara dismounted. She moved stiffly, on one hand bracing against the saddle as she came down. Cole got off his horse and went to her side without making a show of it. Close enough to catch her if her legs went, far enough that she did not have to notice him doing it. She did not fall. She stood straight and walked to the water and knelt and drank from her cupped hands. He filled his canteen. They sat on opposite sides of the pool and did not speak for a while. The canyon walls held the moonlight in a way that made everything silver and still. The way the territory could do sometimes, make you forget for just a minute what was behind you and how much of it there was. Cole said, "The paper in that pouch. What does it prove?" Nara looked at the water. There was a man, a land agent. He worked with 2 others. They took land from 3 Apache families. They had papers made that looked like the families had agreed. They did not agree. One of my uncles tried to fight it in the way the white law says to fight it. He was found dead. The agent wrote that my uncle had started a trouble and been shot for it. Cole said nothing. Nara said, "A soldier at Fort Verde. A good man. He found proof, the real papers, before they were destroyed, and names. Signed. He gave them to me to carry because he said if he carried them, he would not reach the fort." Did he reach the fort? She looked at Cole then. Just looked at him. He understood. "How far is the fort from here?" he said. 2 days riding, if we go straight. And if we don't go straight? 1.5 days. Cole looked at the rock walls around them, at the single gap of sky above, blazing with stars. And what's the hard way? Through the White Mountain Pass, narrow, cold at night. But no one follows that way. They do not know it. Do you know it? My mother was born up there, she said. Cole nodded. Nara was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Why are you doing this?" He looked at her. "Doing what?" "Helping me. You did not have to. You could have let me fall at the trading post, or handed me to those men and let it be their problem." Cole turned his canteen in his hands. "My father lost land once," he said. "Legally, on paper, the way you do it when you want to take something and not feel bad about it. He never recovered from it. I was 12. He stopped. "I don't help everybody," he said. But I know that feeling. Of carrying a thing nobody will listen to. Nara looked at him for a long time, when the moonlight made everything clean. Rest, she said finally. I will watch first. Your ribs, I will watch first, she said again. Cole lay back on his bedroll and looked at the strip of sky above the canyon walls and did not sleep right away. He listened to the horses breathing and the small sound of the water and the quiet of a woman keeping watch who had been keeping watch alone for a long time. They were moving again before the sky went gray. Nara set a pace that was hard on the horses and harder on his back, pushing through the lower canyon country before the heat came, gaining altitude as the sun rose. The white mountain country was different from the flat desert. Pines came in, short and twisted at first, then taller, and the air thinned out and went cold at the edges. Cole's breath showed in front of him. Nara moved like she knew every stone. They stopped mid-morning at a wide flat rock that jutted over a valley. She stood at the edge and looked back the way they had come. Cole came up beside her and followed her line of sight. Far below, dust moving. He counted the plumes. 3 horses. Wrong Jaw had not come back with more men. Wrong Jaw had found the 2 who were faster. How far to the pass? Cole said. 4 hours. They'll catch us in 3. Nara turned and looked at him. There was something behind her eyes that was not fear and was not bravado either. It was the look of someone doing math on hard numbers and not flinching at the answer. There is another way, she said. Slower, but through a valley where the ground is soft. They will lose our tracks in the grass. And then? And then we climb the long way, and we reach the pass by dark instead of midday. Cole looked at the dust below. Does the long way go past anything useful? She understood what he was asking. There is an old homestead, empty. It burned 2 summers ago. The well is still good. Walls? Some. Cole looked at the dust, at the slow crawl of 3 men who believed they had the angle. He thought about open ground versus walls, about afternoon light versus dark, about how long a man could keep riding hard on pride before his horse gave out underneath him. Long way, he said. They went. The soft valley was exactly what she said. The grass was knee-high on the horses and wet with morning damp, and it swallowed their tracks like a mouth. Cole watched the riders behind them pull up at the valley's edge, lose the trail, spread out. They were good trackers, but not perfect trackers. Good was not going to be enough today. The burned homestead came into view in the early afternoon. 3 walls standing. A 4th collapsed. The well was where Nara said it was, and the water came up clean when Cole lowered the bucket. They watered the horses and filled every container they had. Nara sat on the low wall and let Cole change her bandage. The wound was doing better than it had any right to. Clean edges, no bad color. She had been lucky, or she had very good blood, or she was just that stubborn. Probably all 3. Cole tied off the bandage. She stood and tested her draw on the bow. Satisfied, she slung it back across her shoulder. You could have gone to Fort Verde alone, Cole said. Before me. You made it 2 days already. I could have, she said. Why the trading post? Why me? She was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, she did not look at him. I have been watching the territory for 3 weeks, looking for someone who moved through it like they were not afraid of it. Not a reckless man, not a bully man. Just a man who moves like the land belongs to everyone. She paused. You stopped to fix a fence on a property that was not yours. On the 2nd day I watched you. You stopped and fixed a fence because a cow had gotten through and you did not want it on the road. Cole said nothing. "That is a very small thing," she said. "But small things tell you everything." The sun had started its drop toward the mountain line. Cole looked at the high pass ahead of them, the granite teeth of it going dark against the orange sky. "We should move," he said. "We should," she said. They rode up out of the burned homestead as the light went gold and long, and the shadow of the mountain stretched toward them like an arm reaching to pull them in. The pass in the dark was everything hard at once. The trail was a ledge in places, a yard wide, with a drop on the right that the moonlight did not reach the bottom of. The horses went slow and careful. Nara rode slightly ahead, reading the rock by instinct or memory or something older than either. Cole kept his eyes on her back and followed. Halfway through, she stopped. He came up beside her and saw what she saw. Below them, on the lower approach to the pass, a torch. Then two. The riders had found the trail. "They found someone who knows this country," she said quietly. "Or they got lucky." "Luck runs out," she said. She turned her horse and pushed it forward. Faster now, taking the narrow places at a pace that made Cole's teeth lock. He matched her. The rock walls pressed in, and the horse's hooves rang off the stone, and the torches below grew larger. A shot cracked up from below. The bullet sang off the rock face 20 feet above them. A warning. Or a bad angle. Nara did not slow. The pass opened without warning. One moment it was walls and dark and the drop, and then it was open sky and a wide sloping meadow and the outline of a military road 1/2 mile out, pale in the moonlight, running straight toward the distant lamplight of the fort. They rode. Behind them, the pass echoed with horses and voices and the sound of men who were close enough to be angry about it. The fort gates were closed. Cole fired 3 shots into the air, spaced. The signal that meant trouble coming, that every man on the frontier knew. A light appeared at the parapet. Then another. Then the gate began to move. They rode through it at a run. The gate closed behind them. Nara pulled her horse to a stop in the middle of the fort yard, breathing hard, one hand pressed to her ribs. Soldiers came out of doorways. An officer in a blue coat walked toward them with a lamp raised, reading their faces. Nara reached into her dress and drew out the leather pouch. She held it out to the officer and said, in clear, careful English, "This was brought to me by a soldier named Garrett. He said he would not reach you alive. He was right. These are the names you need, and the papers that prove what was done." The officer took the pouch. He looked at it. He looked at her. He looked at Cole. Cole said, "She rode 2.5 days with a bullet graze and 3 men behind her. I take the pouch seriously." The officer opened it. In the lamplight, Cole saw his face change. The way a face changes when it reads something that it already half believed was true and is now holding the proof of it in its own hands. Nara did not watch the officer. She was looking at the gate. Cole looked at her. She had done the thing. She had carried it all the way, alone first and then not alone, through the canyon and the soft valley and the dark pass, and now it was out of her hands and in the hands of the machinery that would decide what happened with it. That part was always the hardest part. He walked his horse alongside hers. "It's done," he said. She did not answer for a moment. Then she said, "It is started, and that done is a long time from now." Cole nodded. She was right. She was going to be right about most things. He was beginning to understand. The officer had 3 soldiers saddle up and ride back toward the pass before Cole had even dismounted. The machinery was moving. Later, after the surgeon had seen to Nara's ribs and the horses had been fed and watered, they sat on the edge of the fort well with tin cups of coffee that tasted like it had been brewed in a boot. Nara looked at the stars. Cole looked at his coffee. She said, "Where will you go from here?" He said, "Hadn't thought about it yet." She looked at him sideways. Just a look. The kind that did not say anything but meant several things at once. Cole drank his boot coffee and looked at the same stars as she was looking at. And the territory spread out beyond the walls in every direction, enormous and difficult and full of fences that needed fixing, and the wrong kind of men with tin badges, and the right kind of women who fired arrows at strangers to get their attention. "Maybe I'll ride north for a while," he said. "North is white mountain country," she said. "I know," he said. The stars were very bright over the fort that night, and the coffee was terrible, and neither of them moved to go inside for a long time.